There is a war happening right now, and I know majority of you are familiar with what is happening in Gaza or Ukraine, but we have to talk about what is happening right here in Africa, especially in Sudan. There is a war that is so brutal that millions have fled their homes, a war that has become completely forgotten, that even some African newsrooms barely mention it anymore. But behind the smoke and behind all this silence is a story of power, greed, and betrayal that I want us to address today, because Sudan's war is not just about two generals who are fighting for control. It's about who gets to own Africa's resources, control the people, and also rewrite that country's future. When you hear Sudan, most of the people think about famine, chaos, or refugees, but let's be honest, that's the picture the world has always painted of African wars. What they won't tell you is this: Sudan did not just fall apart overnight. No, it was broken piece by piece by men who learned that in Africa, power is taken with a gun and sold with a what? A handshake. The two main men behind this war are General Abdel Fattah, the head of the Sudanese army, and Mohamed Hamdan Dagalo, better known as Hemedti, the commander of a powerful militia called the Rapid Support Forces. You guys know it as RSF. At one point, these two were allies. They worked together to remove Omar al-Bashir, Sudan's longest time dictator. But as history has always shown us, when you remove one strongman in Africa without fixing the system that created him, another one is going to take his place. So what are they fighting over? Power, that is number one. But there is also money, land, and what? Gold. And obviously control. Who gets to control Sudan? You know, Sudan has one of the largest gold reserves in Africa. Gold that is smuggled every single day through secret airstrips and across deserts. And guess where most of it ends up? The United Arab Emirates. According to Amnesty International, Chinese-made weapons supplied by the United Arab Emirates have been traced to RSF fighters on the ground. The same UAE that denies involvement is also one of the biggest importers of Sudanese gold. And that gold helps fund the RSF's war. So while the world is busy calling it a civil war, what is really happening is a business transaction. And this is a proxy war that is being disguised as internal chaos. And once again, African blood is being spilled to protect foreign interests. Let's talk about the elephant in this room, because we've mentioned the United Arab Emirates. Because if you've been following the money, then you already know that nothing happening in Sudan is random. This is a very calculated move. The UAE is not just interested in Sudan. It is invested in it heavily. Not because it cares about the people, but because it's after what Sudan has and the Gulf doesn't. That is agricultural land, minerals, and water. You see, Sudan could easily feed half of Africa. It has some of the most fertile land on the continent. And under that land, what lies beneath it? Gold. We are talking about real gold here. And then now when you go back to the UAE, you know, a desert country with shrinking oil reserves and no farmland, this is not just an opportunity. This is survival to them. And for years, Emirati companies have quietly bought up massive chunks of Sudanese land. We are talking about tens of thousands of hectares. Projects that are so huge that most locals don't even know the boundaries anymore. And these deals are never fair. The food grown on those farms do not stay in Sudan. The food is exported to feed Gulf markets, you know, and the profit don't go to the Sudanese communities. They go to shareholders in these United Arab Emirates. It is the same pattern we have seen in Ethiopia, in Somalia, in Djibouti, everywhere the UAE plants its flags. Local farmers get pushed out and control shifts to foreign hands. And when Sudan's government tried to push back, when they started questioning some of those land deals and blocking new ones, that is when the tone changed. And that is when investments turned into influence. And then influence has now turned into interference. Then that is the RSF, you know, the Rapid Support Forces now became useful. RSF isn't just fighting for power. They are protecting the flow of gold, trade, and territory. UAE bankrolls them, allegedly. not because it likes them, but because they help keep Sudan open for business. Every shipment of gold that leaves Darfur, every convoy that makes it across the border to Chad or Libya keeps the machine running. And that is the same gold that ends up in Dubai's refineries, cleaned up, rebranded, and sold to the world as Emirati gold. So when people say it's a proxy war, this is what they mean. One side is fighting for survival. The other one is fighting for profit. And somewhere in the middle, foreign powers are playing chess on African soil, on African lives. What the UAE is doing in Sudan is bigger than money. It is building a grip on Africa's Red Sea coast. One port, one contract, one militia at a time. We are talking about Somali, Djibouti, Eritrea, and now Sudan. Each deal gives them access to ports, to shipping routes, and also to power. This is not a coincidence. They are building a corridor, a maritime empire. The same way old colonial powers once carved out Africa for slave trade. Only this time, they are calling it economic cooperation. Guys, open your eyes. And here's the sad part. Many African governments are watching in silence. And maybe they are also busy signing the same kinds of deals that is robbing Sudan. The same politicians who talk about Pan-Africanism are selling off Sudan. They are participating in selling their minerals and their future. One memorandum of understanding at a time. The UAE's interest in Sudan is not temporary. It is very structural. Their oil is running out. Their population depends on imported food, and they are looking south to us, to guarantee their future. And Sudan just happens to be the latest casualty of that plan. So no, this is not about religion or tribes or coups or civil wars. This is about resources and who gets to own them. And if Sudan falls completely, the playbook will move to the next country and then the next. Because for the people funding these wars, Africa's chaos is not a problem, it's a business model. They gotta make sure you guys keep fighting and fighting and fighting and fighting, because with every fight is an opportunity to milk you of the resources. And if you go back to our conversation on the exploitation of Congo, and why there are so many people who are invested in Congo that they will never let it be free, you will get to learn there's a pattern here. All these wars that you keep hearing in Africa, guys, it's not because we hate each other so much. It's not because we can't tolerate each other. It's because they know the more we fight each other, the more they keep taking and taking and taking from us. And then by the time we open our eyes, everything is gone. By the time we open our eyes, you have like 1,000 conservancies in Kenya. You will find now they will sell the public beaches and privatize them even here in Kenya. By the time you open your eyes. So every time we find each other as Africans fighting and, calling each other out and cursing, there's someone there saying, continue, 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 continue. Let's not call what is happening in Sudan a civil war. It's not. It's by design. It's by design. But there's a country we have to address, and this country is Kenya. Because a lot of things, when it comes to RSF and Kenya in between, there's a bit of complication. Kenya says it's very neutral, that it plays peacemaker, under the African Union. But the reality is very messy. RSF leaders have been hosted in Nairobi, even signing documents for what they call a transitional government. And that move angered Khartoum, and they accused Kenya of taking sides. You saw our president there, busy shaking hands, with these RSF guys. And now it's coming back to bite us. Because apparently, we are participating in this, something we did not have business in. Why do we always find ourselves in these places, shaking hands with criminals? Why? Why? Why do we do this? And this is the problem with modern African politics and our politicians. We will host peace talks by day, shake hands, with warlords by night, Peace talks by day, Pan-Africanism. But at night, we are there shaking hands. But then, guys, why was Kabila in Kenya? Sorry to digress, but why was Kabila in Kenya? Why was Kabila here? What is happening to Kenya? Why do we... I'm going to just do a whole Kabila episode. Because I'm not the only person who is getting tired at the role Kenya is playing in all this mess. Kabila, sentenced to death in his own home country, roams here freely. And then I wonder, watu wa Kongo hata wanatufikiria aje? And I say, that is the problem with the African politicians we have. They will preach African solutions for African problems. But when the money flows, this whole democracy will disappear. And then you'll be left on your own. I want us to humanize what is happening in Sudan for a second. Because we've seen the images, we've seen the videos, we've seen what they are doing to women there, and children, and men. Did you see that video of them where they had young men in the middle and they were, they were beating them up? We've seen that. And it's important for us to continue seeing that, because that is the part that makes it our African business. Those are our brothers and sisters. What is happening in Sudan should concern all of us. All of us. Just imagine you are a mother in Sudan. You've walked for days with your children. Leaving behind everything you own. Your husband is missing. Your home has been burned. No schools, no hospitals, no food, nothing. And we are not talking about just 2 people. 12 million people are now displaced in Sudan. 12 million. 14 million are facing hunger. That's the reality. And yet, somewhere in UAE, you have men in suits, or even maybe here in Nairobi right now, they're arguing over who gets to mediate this whole thing. And people in Sudan right now are just trying to survive. Dear Africans, this is not just Sudan's war. This is a mirror of everything wrong with our continent's politics. Foreign powers are busy exploiting local greed, and they are being assisted by our politicians. Generals are busy using ethnicity to divide people. And neighbors are, neighboring countries are playing both sides for influence. And then the ordinary African always paying the highest price. And here's the truth that must be said today. If Sudan collapses completely, Africa is going to feel it. Africa is going to feel it. Refugees are already crossing into Chad, South Sudan, Egypt, and militias are moving across borders. Arms are being smuggled through the same routes that once trafficked enslaved Africans centuries ago. History is just busy repeating itself. Not because we don't know better, but because we keep allowing outsiders to dictate our destiny. And while everyone's eyes are on Europe and the Middle East, I don't blame you, because this Sudan is not worth news, Sudan is not, what is happening in Sudan doesn't quite catch mainstream attention. I don't blame anyone for being focused on what is happening in Gaza, in Ukraine. Not that we shouldn't. I understand. Those are also people who are going through it, But while we are also busy doing that, remember Sudan's story is also writing Africa's next tragedy. Unless we wake up, today it's Sudan, tomorrow it's something else. If you think Sudan's war is distant, it shouldn't be your business. Please think again. The same patterns exist everywhere. Politicians who are busy weaponizing poverty, elites who sell land to foreigners, and politicians who are busy talking of sovereignty but are bowing down to donors. This is all connected. Please don't think Sudan's pain is isolated. Sudan's pain is a warning of what happens when nations trade people for power, you know, a warning that Africa's greatest threat might not come from outside but from within, from our own politicians, and also from our own silence. Because the truth is, Sudan might never know peace, unfortunately, and I hope that's not the truth. I hope they know peace. And they might not know peace, not because the people don't want it, but because its land is too rich for peace to survive. And we spoke about this extensively when we covered Congo. We did speak about this. People might want peace, they might crave for it, but your resources are a problem. We want the resources, and for us to be able to penetrate this country, we gotta make sure you guys are fighting over nonsense. Every war that touches African soil has one thing in common: resources. Gold where? Sudan. Oil in South Sudan. Cobalt and other minerals in Congo. Uranium in Niger. Land here in Kenya. And when you carry that much wealth under your feet, you know, peace becomes a threat to those who profit from your chaos. You know, sometimes I go through TikTok or other social media, those reels. Sometimes you're just there, you are watching reels and you see these people do something very stupid, and you go in the comment section and you'll find someone asking, how did these guys colonize us? How did we let people so stupid colonize us? Because they are very calculated. They are very calculated. Man, Africa, when will we stop fighting each other? When will we stop? You know, Sudan sits on a treasure chest the world doesn't want Africans to fully understand, and other African countries. We are talking about gold in Sudan that fuels global markets, and farmland that could feed the continent. And then you have a Red Sea coastline that connects Africa to the Middle East and Asia, one of the most strategic corridors on earth. Whoever controls Sudan controls a gateway. And that is why Sudan cannot rest. That is why Sudan cannot know peace. Because peace in Sudan would mean African self-determination. It would mean Africans setting the price of their own gold, controlling their own ports, building industries from their own soil. And that, to the global system, that is very dangerous. A stable Sudan would mean an independent Sudan, one that no longer exports raw gold while they are busy importing hunger. So, these earrings. Anyways, every time a peace deal is signed, someone sabotages it. Every time Sudan inches towards stability, new weapons, you know, mysteriously appear. And I feel like as Africans, we need to follow these weapons. These weapons just, because we don't make that here. We actually don't make those things here. So where do they come from? In such magnitude, where do these weapons come from? Because the hands behind those weapons are rarely us. No. They are foreign companies, global investors, and governments pretending to send aid while they are quietly mining our lands dry. And it's a brutal pattern. Destabilize, divide, and then extract. All right? Destabilize, divide, and then do what? Extract. Well, they are still divided. Extract. Milk the land dry. And then, when you have people resisting, they will be branded rebels or extremists, you know. And then when they flee from a land that belongs to them, the world will label them refugees. Then when they die, it's a civil war. but they'll never call it truly what it is. Economic control through conflict, with your politicians enabling it. And this is why Africa's resources matter, because they are not just minerals, they are bargaining chips in the world's power game. And until Africa learns to protect what it owns, someone will always find a way to fund our wars, and steal our future. Fund our wars, remain silent, and they steal your future. So let's not assume what is happening in Sudan is just Sudan's story. This is Africa's reflection. A continent that is rich enough to feed the world, yet it is starved of peace. Our lands overflow with wealth, and yet, no, we can't keep living like this. Until that changes, until we stop letting others define what our gold, our oil, our land are worth, peace in Sudan will remain an illusion that is going to be sold to us at the price of our own blood. If there was ever a time for Africa to prove that unity is not just a slogan, because we are good at that, If there was ever a time, it's now. Please, let us stand with Sudan. Use your platforms, all right? Go on social media. Call the people who are funding the war in Sudan. Call them out. Let them know we know. All right? Go out there. We don't want summits, We don't want speeches. We don't want people acting as if they are the Pan-Africanist politicians who want to help mediate this. No, we don't want. Please use your voices. Pray for Sudan. If you are an artist, make songs about this. If you are the media, mainstream media, it's time for you to stand with Sudan and say, we see you. We see your pain. We see your strength, and we refuse to look away. We refuse to look away, because today it's happening in Sudan. Tomorrow it will happen somewhere else in Africa if we don't wake up. Don't get it twisted. The same systems that are funding wars there, they're already here. And they are here as investors, as partners, as donors, as climate change experts. They are here with us. We really care about those lions and elephants. They are becoming distinct. So we gotta go there and we gotta save this rhino. They are here. Please stand for Sudan. Stand for Sudan. Please. And this is not just solidarity. Stand for Sudan, because it's time for us to actually defend ourselves. Africa has risen for others before. We've even risen and we've said no to war. We've called Israel out. We've marched for Ukraine. We've marched for what is happening in Gaza. And now we must rise for ourselves. Please, no more silence. No. If the world can light up monuments for Gaza, if we can wear flags for Gaza, surely we can raise our voice for Sudan. Who else do you think is going to fight for Africa? Who? Even right outside there, people still think Africa is just one country. They don't know we are 54 of us, and you're expecting strangers to come and fight. Who else is going to fight for Africa if not us? Please, don't just look at this and say, nah, it doesn't affect me. See, Sudanese people can fight for themselves. Please don't just move on. Stand with Sudan. If it's the only thing that you're going to do today through your social media handles, do it. Stand for Sudan. Please stand for Sudan. It's a shame. It's a shame that we don't even have African presidents talking about what is happening in Sudan. But when gold is involved, when they know here there are resources, that is the time they'll be busy shaking hands with these people. But when it's time for you to stand with the 12 million people who have been displaced in Sudan, the 14 million people who are facing hunger, you don't do it. You don't do it, because at the end of the day, you are a collaborator. By the way, guys, Just know some of your politicians are collaborators. You remember during the fight for independence, when we had home guards, some of your presidents and politicians are the new house. They are. They are. And that is why what is happening in Sudan won't bother them. You know, the only people who have actually reacted to this is South Africa. South Africa, through their Minister of Foreign Affairs, trying to find what they said. All I see here is our producer Edwin telling me it's boiling in Tanzania. Suluhu, I hear you are still going to be president. Why are we shocked? Who was she competing with? She had no opposition. So enjoy your presidency. Anyways, I'm trying to look at what, the South Africa. This is South Africa condemns the attacks by the Rapid Support Forces in El Fasher, North Darfur. Yeah, I honestly couldn't find anything else apart from South Africa. And then the African Union, the chairperson of the African Union Commission condemns atrocities in El Fasher, Sudan. African Union, we are coming for you. You. African Union, you can't even tell us anything. You've let Africa down, and that's a fact. This is so ironical. So all you do is first wait for this to hit a boiling point and then release a press statement saying you condemn the atrocities in Sudan, as if you didn't know them. As if you didn't. Guys, may have so many shows I want to come and talk to you about. And this African Union is one of the ones that really piss me off. But as I was saying, please stand with Sudan. Stand with Sudan, all right? If that's the only thing that you do today, do it. In solidarity with Sudan. Breaks our hearts. When we know why they are doing this. So why don't we come together and just do something about it? Why do we let them do this to us every single time? You know, growing up, I always thought Africans, we were the problems. You know, I always thought we loved fighting each other. You know, we loved this chaos. Please, when you see a civil war in an African country, just know, ask yourself what's beneath the land. What minerals are here? What resources are here? Because that is what they are going for. But I felt it was really important for us to make this video and let Sudan know that we are proudly standing with them. We see you. Your pain is our pain. And we will use our platforms to make sure that we are shining a light on what is happening in Sudan. And for the people who have lost their lives there, the people who no longer have homes, the people who are going through it in Sudan, we see you. We see you, right? So share your thoughts with me. The best you can do for me, share these videos with your friends across the world so that we can collectively do this, right? Yeah, that's it. And I really want to take this opportunity to thank you guys. You've been incredible. I go through the comments and that warms my heart. You guys have been incredible. You are actually participating in this journey more than I imagined. We are learning and learning and relearning. Let us find it in us the courage and the strength to tell our own stories. Let's do that. And make peace with knowing, even if something happens to us right now, let's make peace with knowing we did our best and we played our part. We owned that role. So fear is always the enemy. Fear is always the enemy, and these people know us, we're fearful of hot milk. They know we fear hot porridge. So can you imagine? Hey, they really know we are scared of fear is always the enemy, but you can't be fearful forever. 20 years from now, the generation that will be there will look at you as the most stupid people they've ever seen. Because how could this happen under your watch? And you said nothing? And you did nothing? And you let it happen? And you said it's not my business? God. And they will disrespect you completely. So use your voice when it matters. And the time is now. So that's it. Share this with everyone. As I said, let me know on the comment section, who should we talk about next? Honestly, I don't think I want to talk about Suluhu. I don't even think I want to talk about her, you know? And it's a shame. It's a shame that when these people come to power, we hype them and we think, here comes the change that we have all been waiting for. You know, here comes something different. And then they go and remind you why all politicians are the same. All of them are the same. She's an embarrassment. An embarrassment. A big one. So that's it. That's all I'll say. That's all I'll say. Share your thoughts. Thank you for everyone that is supporting independent journalism. I see you. I see your contributions on our MPESA. Thank you so much. I see you on our PayBill. I see you on our Patreon. And I also see you on our Super Thanks category. So contribute towards independent journalism. They don't like us because we tell the truth. But the job has to be done. And we will do the job until we can't do it anymore. All right. So thank you for your contribution towards our work. This work takes a lot, you know. It takes a lot. It takes a whole team, not just me. You know, the people behind the camera, you know, the people who make this happen. So we appreciate you. And if there's anything you can't share with us on the comment section, info@lnn.digital, find me there and we can have a conversation. All right. So hopefully, I know I owe you a video on synthetics. I owe you a video on Kabila. I owe you a video on Muammar Gaddafi, and we'll do that hopefully before the year ends. But let me know in the comment, what else do you want us to touch on? All right. Yeah.